Okay, so as we begin our mystery project, I want you to consider keeping a notepad handy so that you can jot down some notes about your experience as we move along. So before we begin, I want you to take a deep breath and check in with yourself. How would you rate your stress level in this last 5 minutes? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the least stress you've ever felt and 10 being the most stress you've ever felt. And just make a note on your little notepad about how you're feeling right now. And we hope to kind of monitor that throughout this experience. Take a deep breath, soften your forehead, relax your jaw, wiggle your arms and your legs, and let go of any tension you might be carrying in your body. All right, so we're going to begin this project with a basic kind of worsted weight yarn and a medium sized hook. I'm using a G. You can use whatever yarn you have available, whatever hook you have available. Our project today is meant to help us focus on our 5 senses, check in with our body, and find some time to focus our thoughts on something tangible, and maybe help us disconnect from some of those stressful negative thoughts that we're all carrying around right now. So we're going to start this off by chaining 6. So I always like to start a chain by taking my yarn with the tail in my right hand because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to wrap it around my middle finger so that the tail crosses over the original strand. And I'm going to do that twice. So here's our strand that's still connected to the yarn, and you can see it kind of comes through. I'm going to insert my hook. And I'm going to insert my hook under the first 2 loops, and I'm going to grab the 3rd loop and pull it through. This makes a slip stitch. So I'm going to pull my finger out of there and pull them together like this. That makes a slip stitch, so I can pull it and tighten it and loosen it. There are other ways to make a slip stitch. That's just the way I do it. So this tutorial / mindfulness video is designed for a beginner, although this is my first beginner's tutorial, so if it goes a little too fast for you, please be patient with me. So we've got our slip stitch on the hook. We're going to yarn over. Now, to yarn over means to take this yarn over here that's in our hand, and I always like to hold it between my index finger and my middle finger. And then I use my middle finger and my thumb to kind of hold the tail, just to kind of give it some security. You don't really have to do that though, just to kind of make things firm for me. Okay, so we're going to take our yarn, again, the yarn that goes over our finger, our index finger here is the one that we're working with. And we're gonna take our hook and go to the left of the yarn, under it, behind. This is what we call yarn over. And if you can't master that, you're not going to be able to get much further in crochet. So if that is something you need to take a minute and practice, go ahead and do that. Again, the point today is to really zone in on the way our body feels and focus on what's going on here in front of us and disconnect from those stray stressful thoughts. So this is a basic yarn over, and you'll see if you pull your hook towards you, the yarn goes underneath the hook, and that's how you basically hook any yarn. So it's a combination of pulling and twisting which pulls the yarn through the loop. So we've yarned over, and we're going to pull through. And we've just created our first chain. All right, so we're going to chain 6. So that was 1. Again, we're going to go to the left, under, around, and I'm going to, that's a yarn over, and we're going to pull that through. That's a chain 2. Again, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have now chained 6. Now we're going to make a circle out of this by bringing these together. So leave this chain on your hook and take the tip of your hook and put it through the first chain that we made. So here's the knot, right, the slip knot, and you can see this line here is the first chain, the second line here is the second chain, and so on, right? So all right, so we've got our first chain and our 6th chain and our first chain on the hook. Make sure that's a little bit tight. What I'm going to do is yarn over, pull through the first loop and pull through the second loop, and just pull that tight. So you've made a little circle here. Now, as you advance through your crochet skills, you're going to want to do what we call a magic ring to make a starting circle, but that's a little bit challenging for a first video, so we're going to start with a little bit more basic technique. So we're just creating a chain and turning it into a circle. Okay, so we've got chain 6 that we have used a slip stitch to make into a circle. Now we're going to yarn over to chain 1. Okay, so what we want to do now is create about 6 single crochets around this circle. So to start that, we're going to insert our hook into the middle of the circle, yarn over, and pull up a loop. A single crochet begins with 2 loops on your hook. Remember, a chain just has 1 loop on your hook, and you yarn over and pull through a loop. That's a chain. A single crochet has 2 loops on your hook, and then you yarn over and you pull through both loops. And that creates a single crochet. The top of the single crochet looks similar to a chain, just this loop here. We want to do that 6 times kind of around this circle that we've created. So that was 1. And to start, you're always going to need 1 loop on your hook. So you should have a beginning chain or the last single crochet. In this case, we've just completed a single crochet, so we've still got a loop on our hook. So we're going to put our hook into the circle, yarn over, pull up a loop. There's 2 loops on our hook now. We're going to yarn over and pull it through both loops. Now we've done 2 single crochets. Let's do that again. Insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop through the circle, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. Now we've done 3 single crochets. Insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. That's a single crochet. So that's 4. I'm going to do 2 more. 5 and 6. Okay. Now, what we want to do is join this circle. So to join around, we should start with our loop on our hook, and we're going to insert our hook into the first single crochet that we did. Now I remember when I was first learning crochet, I was like, where is the first single crochet and where does my hook go? So let me see if I can explain. Here's the side of our project and the top. So on the top you have this loop, right? That is one single crochet. So it'd be like one single crochet, two single crochets, three single crochets. And the top of the loop, the top of the stitch is going to look the same whether you're doing a single crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, double crochet cluster, whatever number of advanced stitches you want to throw out there. Anytime you are inserting your hook into a stitch, you're going to want to turn your project to the side, and your hook is going to go under that top loop. So in this case, it's going to go right here. Right there. If we were going to insert it into the second stitch, it would go, let me pull that out of there, it would go right here. I've made these stitches kind of tight, so I'm having a bit of a hard time here. Okay, so we are going to join our round with a slip stitch by inserting our hook under the first stitch that we made, yarning over, pulling up a loop. So we've got two loops on our hook, and it looks like we're going to do a single crochet, but we're not. We're actually going to take that same loop right here and pull it through. That is a slip stitch, not a single crochet. But as you can see on the top, it looks the same. All right, so now what we want to do is advance you from the single crochet to the double crochet. It's a couple extra steps. To start a double crochet, we're going to chain 3, a round of single crochets. No, to start a round of double crochets, we need to start with a chain 3. Okay. Now this is just a row of chains. It's just to get us some height as we get started here. To do a double crochet, I'm going to yarn over before I insert my hook, because we're going to need 3 loops on our hook when we get ready to pull through. So we've got 1 from the previous round that we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to insert our hook. Now I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and you can see there's 3 loops on the hook. So we're going to yarn over and pull through just the first 2, leaving 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over again and pull through the second 2. So this is the chain, and this is the double crochet. So let's do 6 double crochets around. So 1 loop on our hook, yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, so right here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Let's do that again. Yarn over, insert underneath the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Let's do it again. Yarn over, insert it, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the second two. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, yarn over, insert our hook under the next single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull under the first two, yarn over, pull under the second two. Okay, yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first two loops, yarn over, pull through the second two loops. Okay, so we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 6. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So now that we have double crocheted around, actually I want to add one more double crochet into this circle just because it feels like it's a little tight to me. So I'm going to yarn over, insert right here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, and yarn over, pull through the second two. Now I can take this double crochet and slip stitch it to that chain that we began with. So to do a slip stitch, remember we leave our last loop on our hook. I'm going to insert it into the third chain. So here's where we started, 1, 2, 3. At the top there. Yarn over, pull through, and take that same loop and pull it through. And there we have completed a little circle. It's not the cleanest circle I've ever seen. And this is probably not the easiest beginner's crochet tutorial that exists in the world. Take a moment now and check in with your stress level again. On a scale of 1 to 10, where is your stress level? Again, we're still at the beginning of this mystery project and we don't know where it's going. We don't know what it's supposed to look like. We don't know the outcome. And that's part of the uncertainty that we're all experiencing right now as we're working remotely or not working at all. None of us knows what's about to happen. And to some degree, our only job right now is to learn to sit with that uncertainty. So I hope this project will help you do that. Help you get some practice with that. Okay. So for our next round, we're going to make some double crochet clusters. And all of the cluster is a number of stitches that originate from the same base stitch. So let's see if I can clarify. we're going to chain 3 because that's what we do when we start a round of double crochets. And remember, let's see if I can show you here. This is the double crochet, this long stitch here, the double crochet, and here's the top, and it looks the same as the top of the single crochet. So what I want to do is chain 3 because that's going to mimic our first double crochet. And I'm going to chain 2 because what I want is 2 chains in between each double crochet cluster. So really this mimics a double crochet and then 2 chains that are going to go around. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert my hook under the first double crochet. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. So all we're doing here is we're going to do 2 double crochets in the same foundation. So here's our foundation. We're going to do 2 double crochets. So we've done 1. Now I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. So we've got 2 crochets coming out of that same space. Again, I want there to be 2 chains in between each cluster there. So I'm gonna chain 1, yarn over, chain 2. Now we're just gonna repeat that all the way around till we get back to the very beginning. So yarn over, insert our hook into the next space. So here's the one we just finished, and here's the next one. So there's the top of it, here's the side. You want to kind of go right there in that space. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Do that again. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Okay, now that it's coming out from that base circle that we made, starting to look like actual double crochet stitches. It's a little easier to see there. So there's a double crochet and there's a double crochet. Here are the chains that we made between. So we're going to chain 2. Okay, yarn over, insert our hook into the next space. So here's the top of it. I don't know if you can see that there. There's the top of it. There's the side, right? So we want to go underneath the top there. Okay. Yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. And again, yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. So there's another double crochet. This is not technically considered a cluster. That's probably not the right choice of words. This is 2 double crochets together. So it's 2 double crochets in the same stitch. A cluster is a technical word, so I shouldn't be using that. Okay, so 2 double crochets together. So now we want to chain 2 before we do our next 2 double crochets together. So 1, yarn over, pull through, and 2. Another double crochet cluster, yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Again, start with a yarn over because we need an additional loop on our hook. Insert our stitch, our hook, sorry. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. So let's chain 2, 1, 2, and again, yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Again. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this round a little bit faster now. You can pause the video if you need to go at your own pace. And once you've done this a little bit, you will go very fast. Okay, so I made it to the end of the round. Now I'm going to do one more double crochet in that first stitch because I want there to be 2 together. And so we've got that chain that we made that mimics a double crochet. So we just need one more in that little space there. Okay, and I'm going to leave that one chain loop on my hook, insert my hook at the top of the chain that we made, the chain 3, yarn over, pull through, take that same stitch right there and pull it through again, and that's the slip stitch. All right, so we kind of pull this apart, you can see it's starting to look like something, kind of a wagon wheel shape at this point. We're going to do one more round with this color, and then we're going to change colors so you can see what that might look like. So on our next round, we're going to do 3 double crochets together with the chain 2 in between each. Before we get going, I want you to take note of what you may be experiencing right now emotionally. If you are well and truly brand new to crochet, I would guess you're probably feeling a little bit of frustration as you try to master the stitches. And that's okay. Just note what that feels like and observe yourself as you go from knowing very little to knowing progressively more and more. The nice thing about crochet is that it is a process, and you can't always see what you're doing until you've made some progress. And that's, again, similar just to the uncertainty that we're all going through. Just not knowing where we're going to end up. But being willing to take a deep breath and hold some of that uncertainty as we keep doing the best we can. Okay. So we're going to start our next round again with a chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to put 2 double crochets here in this space that we create with the chains. So ultimately it'll be 3 double crochets together in each space. But because our first chain mimics a double crochet, we just need to start with 2. So yarn over, insert your hook into the space that you made, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. One more time, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, oops, pull through the second 2. Let's chain 2, 1, 2. Actually, I think I'm going to chain 3, making another one. I want it to be nice and loose, and since we did 2 double crochets here, it makes sense to me to chain 3 over that just to give it a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, so yarn over, put our hook into that space, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2, yarn over, hook into the space, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2, yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the second two. So now you've got 3 double crochets in the space from the previous round. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put 3 double crochets into that space. Chain 3. Insert my hook into the space, draw up a loop, pull through the first 2, pull through the second 2, and repeat. Again, I'm going a little bit faster now. A lot faster now. Feel free to pause your video. Take your time working your way around. Don't hold your breath. Try not to clench any muscle groups. Be sure to check in with your body and your breath. Okay, so there's our last row, or excuse me, our last 3 double crochet together, so chain 3. And we're going to put a slip stitch into the top of the double crochet, or the chain 3 that we made in the beginning. So insert my hook into the top, so 1, 2, 3. There's the top. Pull a loop through and pull it through to slip stitch. Now I'm going to draw a loop, big loop through here because it's time to change colors. So we've got that loop there that we just did. Take your scissors, snip it. Take the yarn that you've been working with and just pull it through. All right. The really nice thing about crochet is that the repetitive movement with your hands and with the yarn causes you to really focus. As you're counting your stitches, you'll notice that you're concentrating and that you're not thinking about things like your bills, and if you have kids, your kids' homeschool. It is really hard to count and do anything else. That's why you always see on TV, right, a little brother is maybe giving a little sister a hard time. She's trying to count, and he starts counting over her, and you know, counting is something that just takes a lot of our attention. So as we're counting our stitches, we are connecting with our body, with our 5 senses. We're letting those stray thoughts kind of come up into our awareness and leave our awareness. They don't linger and we don't ruminate because we're counting and we're focusing on the use of our hands. So this is a really meditative experience. So I'm going to put my blue yarn aside. I'm going to get another color out. If you don't have another color, just keep going with whatever you were using. All right, so I'm adding this nice violet color. I'm going to wrap it around my finger just to create a loop. Pull my finger out so there's a loop. I'm going to take the project that we're working with. I'm going to insert my hook. Actually, let me put this loop down. And I'm going to insert my hook right in that last loop that we made. Right there. Take this new color and pull it through. So you've got that loop there. And take your hook, insert it into the top of the next stitch, and pull that color through. So you've got 2 loops on your hook and slip stitch that. So you're going to take your newest loop and pull it through the oldest loop. And that's going to secure that new color onto your previous work. So what I want to do now is just a row of single crochets all the way around. So remember, a single crochet starts with one loop on your hook. You insert your hook, draw up a loop. You should have 2 loops on your hook, and you pull through the first 2. Because we've just joined this color, we need a little bit of wiggle room, so actually we're going to chain 1 to start. Okay, now I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, drop yarn over, and pull through both. So there's a single crochet. So for every stitch we made, we need another single crochet. So we've done 2 so far. Remember that there are 3 chains here in the space, so we want 3 single crochets there. So insert our hook, bring up a loop, 1, 2, 3. So you're just doing it around that space that you made. Now we're going to do them in the top of the double crochets. So here's that next double crochet, the top. Here's the top of the double crochet, and here's the space under it. So that's where we're going to insert our hook. Okay, so 1 loop on your hook to begin with. Insert your hook under the top of the double crochet and pull up a loop. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through. Here's the next double crochet, so insert your hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through. Insert your hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through. So you're going to do that all the way around. So there should be 3 single crochets around your chain space and 3 single crochets in the top of your 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice once you get some practice and you start to build up some momentum that each stitch starts to feel like one fluid movement rather than all the different steps I have described. So for instance, step 1, notice 1 loop on your hook. Step 2, insert your hook. Step 3, yarn over. Step 4, notice 2 loops on your hook. Step 5, yarn over. Step 6, pull through both loops. Right? Instead of it being 6 steps to make 1 stitch, it's just going to be one fluid movement, and that will come with practice. So I've got to do 3 single crochets here in the top of my 3 double crochets, 3 single crochets in the chain space that we made, 3 single crochets in the top of the double crochets, and so on. So I'm going to pause the video here and complete this around, and I will join you when we get back to the end of the round. Okay. So we have now come to the end of the round with single crochets, and we just need to join our last single crochet to our first single crochet. So I need to put 1 more single crochet into the last double or the top of the first chain rather. So single crochet, and now I'm gonna insert my hook, draw up a loop, and pull through to make a slip stitch. So now what we're gonna do is chain 3. Again, that's going to mimic a double crochet, and we're going to chain 4 because we're going to make a little space. And I'm just going to put a double crochet into the middle of the single crochet group over the top of that space right there. So here's the space, here's the middle single crochet. I'm just going to put a double crochet there. Then I will chain 4 and put another double crochet there, chain 4 and put another double crochet there. So yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2, chain 4, yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Let's do that again. Chain 4. And I'm doing these pretty loose, so if you notice that your stitches are so tight that it's hard for you to insert your hook. Okay, so I had to take a break to wash my hands. If you haven't washed your hands in the last hour or so, that might be something to think about doing. And we have made it to the end of our second round of purple. So, if you haven't already, take a second and check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? If you rate your stress on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, how much stress are you feeling in this moment? Hopefully you're noticing some progress and being able to see the growth in your project. I want to point out that a couple of parts of my last round are a little imperfect. So originally I had thought that I would do a chain 4, and put a double crochet in the spaces only. But as I got going, I decided, you know what, I'd like to have more than that. And so I ended up chaining 4 and putting a space in the middle of the double crochet cluster and again in the middle of the chain space. So that gave me a few more. But here you can see I missed a spot and did a double crochet in the middle of the cluster, missed the space and did it again in the cluster. And in some ways that's just to kind of show you that the pattern doesn't have to be perfect to appreciate the process, to appreciate the journey, and to still appreciate the outcome. So for this next round, we're going to do a combination of stitches in the same spaces that we've just created. So I'm just going to chain 1 to get started because I'm going to start with a single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook and yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, and that's a single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1 to give me some space because I'm actually going to do a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook below the space, pull up a yarn, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. I'm going to do that again. So yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, pull through the second 2. Now just to be consistent, we're going to end this section in the same way we began it. So I'm going to do another chain, and then I'm going to single crochet. So there we go. And what you should see is sort of a curve shape here. So in each space that we made in the last round, we're going to do single crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and single crochet. If you think you're going to have a hard time remembering that, you may want to write it down on the little piece of paper that I mentioned. Might be helpful to have handy. So one more time, single crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet. So we're going to do that all the way around. So in the next section, single crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and single crochet. Again, single crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet. Again, single crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet. So you should start to see some little bumps forming around the section that we made. So we're just going to keep going. As we're doing this, I might encourage you to go ahead and see if you can dedicate a small portion of your attention to your breath. Breathe in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. A common exercise that we'll use in therapy to help our clients relax is something called 4x4 breathing. It's a really simple exercise. Essentially, you breathe in to the count of 4, hold it for just a second, and then breathe out to the count of 4, and you do that 4 times. So we call it 4x4. Ideally, you would gradually increase the length of time that you're exhaling and inhaling, but if you don't have time for that, or you don't want to try and figure all that out, the easiest thing to do is just in 4, out 4, repeat. And that's something that you can easily kind of do alongside your crochet, especially if you're trying to get some relaxation. Okay, so we've come to the end of this round, and you can still see where the mistakes were in the previous round, where the space is a little bit larger. But when you look at the pattern that we're coming up with overall, it doesn't really seem to make a huge difference. And I think that's also an important lesson to remember, that in the grand scheme of things, some of the small mistakes don't always have enormous impacts. Alright, so we're going to finish this round by joining this last stitch to our first single crochet with a slip stitch. And I'm going to go ahead and change colors again. So I'm going to pull out a length of yarn there, take my scissors and snip it, pull that out of there. Okay. We're going to join the next color of yarn here. Put our hook right back in that loop that we finished. Create another loop, pull through, go into the very next stitch, pull up a loop, tightly pull that through the first loop, and we slip stitch the new color on. Again, I think there's probably more sophisticated ways of doing that, but for the purposes of today, we just need to safely get it on there and make sure it's not going to come off. Okay. So let's do one more similar row to the one before last. So we'll do a double crochet in between each of the humps that we just made, with about 4 chains in between each one. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started for you. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Those first 3 mimic a double crochet. So then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over and put that double crochet on the top of this that double crochet post from 2 rounds ago. So you'll notice just there that my yarn was kind of loose, and so I just kind of gave it a tug while I was stitching it, just to kind of tighten that up. Okay, so chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, insert my hook there at the top of that post, yarn over. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you are brand new to crochet, I hope that at this point you're starting to feel like you're getting the hang of some of these basic stitches, the chain, the single crochet, and the double crochet. And I hope your project is kind of starting to turn out something like this, just so you can see the product of your efforts. One thing that we talk a lot about in therapy is the concept of mastery, which is learning to do something and becoming more or less a master at it, right? So you start off novice and you work until you feel more skillful. Mastery is often something has to do with something that we don't really enjoy, like maybe paying our bills or weeding our garden, cleaning our house, things like that. But it is one of those things that we do because it makes our life easier later. So you can think about learning some of these basic crochet stitches as an effort in mastery. This is something that you can do later. You'll get all those meditative benefits. You even get the finished product. And there's a lot that comes out of your efforts. Okay, we're making our way around here. Again, do these pretty loosely. If your stitches are too tight, it's going to cause some buckling. And you see I've got a little bit of that going on here already, just because I'm using different gauges of yarn and it's not super consistent. But that's okay, because really all we're trying to do here is focus our attention on this act of using our hands and focusing our thoughts. One more time. Yarn over. hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're just going to attach that to the top of the chain from the beginning. So 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. So this next round we're just going to do double crochets all the way around. So we're going to do a double crochet in the top of the post. Let's do 5 double crochets in the space and another double crochet in the top of the post. This one is one that's going to give us a lot of time to practice the experience of kind of losing ourselves in that repetitive movement. It's going to give you a lot of time to practice your double crochet as well. This might be a good time for you if you are able to kind of lose yourself in the movement, to sort of mentally step back from yourself and see if you can observe the types of thoughts that come into your awareness. Because that's what meditation is all about. It's all about observing on purpose. So I'm going to sit here and try and model that for you. I'm going to mentally sort of step back from myself and let my hands do all the work. Try not to think about my stitches or the pattern, and just see what comes up for me. Find myself more aware of the temperature in the room than I was a moment ago. A bit warmer than I thought it was. Some stray thoughts about what I'm going to do this weekend are coming into my awareness. And as I notice these thoughts, I am kind of acknowledging them, kind of like giving them a wave, a mental wave, and just letting them go. I'm not inviting them to stay. I'm not following them. So for instance, rather than thinking about what time I'm going to meet with my friends online this weekend and what meals I'm going to cook and how that's going to go, right? I'm not spending time on that line of thought. I'm just letting it go. A lot of times people will say when they try to do meditation, they'll say, I'm not doing it right because I can't get my mind empty. And I always say to people in those cases that that's not the point. It's not about clearing your mind. It's about observing what comes up and letting it go. In doing so, it can give us some really good information about what's important to us or how we're doing. If our thoughts are very, very scattered, or if one theme kind of keeps coming up over and over again, it kind of gives us an idea of what we maybe need to pay some attention to in our lives at a different time, right? Because this isn't the time to analyze those thoughts, but just notice that they keep trying to get your attention. Another benefit of crochet is that you're engaging in some bilateral movement with both of your hands and your eyes. Oh, I apologize if you can hear my dogs barking. It must be time for the mailman. So as I was saying, the bilateral movement that you get in the process of crocheting is similar to the type of bilateral processing that happens with a lot of trauma therapy. It's thought to have a healing effect. Again, just paying attention to the thoughts that come up without spending time on them. Notice how that's different from some of the rumination that sometimes comes with anxiety. We're letting them come, we're acknowledging them, we're not stuffing them down, but we're not spending time on them, we're not getting close with them. Okay, so we've come to the end of that round. We're going to join with a slip stitch, so count to the top of your chain, 1, 2, 3, insert your hook there, pull up a loop, and pull it through your last loop there to slip stitch to close. Okay, so I'm going to take a step back at this point, kind of observe the progress of our work. You notice I kind of flatten my piece at the end of each round. I'm really actually, it's not so much about the flattening, but about connecting with the texture of the yarn. Again, I think that one of the things that I really enjoy about crochet is that it gets me out of my head and into my body and into this present moment. This is something that we call grounding in clinical work. So there are all different ways that you can ground. A really common technique is to notice 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And working yourself through that exercise can kind of pull you out of your thoughts and into your body. And I think crochet can really do that too. So at the moment I'm grounding by really connecting with the feel of the yarn. This yarn is a different brand from this yarn, and so it has a slightly rougher texture. And this yarn, as I observe it, this outer yarn is matte, and this one is more satin or shiny. And I'm just taking a second again to connect with the physical properties and the visual properties of the yarn, because again, I'm trying to pull myself out of my head here and really connect with what's in front of me. Okay, so deep breath. We're going to do another round of double crochets, I think. Yeah, and we're going to do kind of a fancy stitch for you. So I know that you're beginners, but I really think you can do this, and I'm going to go slow so you can observe it. Okay. So we're going to you know what? I think we should change colors first. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to yarn over, pull through, take my scissors, give it a snip, pull through. Okay, so I'm going to take my hook and insert it into the last loop where we were. Stick my yarn on there, pull it through, pop my hook into the very next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through. Again, that's a slip stitch just to join our yarn. Okay, so we're going to chain 3. And what we're going to do is a double crochet in the top of each double crochet. And when we get here, we're going to do something kind of funny. So follow along. Whoops. insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through the first two, yarn over, draw through the second two. Okay. I encourage you again just to notice the thoughts that are coming into your awareness, especially if you're having thoughts like, I can't do this, this is too hard, I don't understand. Just notice those thoughts and see if you can set them aside while you observe yourself continuing through. Okay, so at this point we're going to do something kind of silly. So it's technically a single crochet. I'm going to loosen up. You see I've loosened up here. Okay, I'm going to loosen up my yarn just a little. I'm going to bring my hook down here to this pink post, put my hook behind it, yarn over, pull up a loop, long loop. So you're going to have this kind of twisty thing going on. But you should have 2 loops on your hook. So you're going to yarn over and pull through. So that's technically a single crochet. On the internet I saw someone call this a spike single crochet. So it's going to give you a nice little loop-de-loop yellow layer over your pink. I don't know what it's called. And then I'm going to keep doing my double crochets till I get to the next post. Take a second while you're doing this, check in with your body. Notice if there's any tension in your legs. If so, see if you can give that a wiggle and shake out any of that tension. Okay, so we've made it to the next post, so we'll give a little bit of leeway here. Take my hook, put it behind the pink post, yarn over, pull it all the way back up to the top, so loosely, real loosely there, yarn over, pull through. So technically it's a single crochet, it's just a real fancy one. So we're going to yarn over and keep double crocheting all the way around. Is there any tension in your stomach? How about in your jaw? Take a second and wiggle your jaw forward and backwards and side to side. See if you can let go of any of that tension. Is there any tension in your forehead? Take a second and see if you can loosen some of that tension up by raising your eyebrows really high, as though your eyebrows were going to touch your hairline. And then loosen that up. See if that helps release some of that tension. Oops, I was trying to do a double crochet. Let me back that up. Loosen that up. Pull that all the way to the top. Yarn over and pull through. Again, the nice grounding effect that we get with crochet allows us to try and get out of our head and into our body. Okay, so you can see I ran out of yarn because I'm using scraps of yarn here. So I'm just going to grab another and join. This isn't part of the tutorial. I'm actually going to pull that through there and keep going. Look away. This isn't part of it. It's all part of it, I guess. All right. Focusing on my yarn, my pattern, the counting. If I can focus on my breath and the tension in my body. And It's really all I even have room for in my conscious awareness. So it makes it hard, honestly, hard to focus on all those other anxiety thoughts when I'm doing this. So this is a really nice, healthy way to take a break. From all of the serious things that we have to think about right now. I keep wanting to do that like a double crochet, but it's not. It's a single crochet. Again, bring that up to the top. Okay, so this is starting to come along. If you are noticing thoughts of frustration come into your awareness, see if you can welcome those with some self-compassion. There are some fantastic therapists out there, among them Dr. Kristen Neff and Dr. Brene Brown. I encourage you to look at their YouTube videos and see if you can learn to lean into your vulnerabilities and to use self-compassion with yourself, especially as you learn something new like crochet. Alright, give me a second while I get some more yarn. But the fibers in the knot are still valuable and are still contributing to the work that we're doing. Just takes a minute to sit with that and clean it up. Let's see here. And the thing about these knots is if you loosely pull on them, you can often kind of just get them to come apart. But if you pull on them very tightly and very quickly, they tighten up. And similarly to your thoughts, right? If you hold on to those thoughts very tightly, they can become painful. But if you hold them loosely, they are just something for you to consider. Just another piece of data in your overall experience. We call that cognitive diffusion, and that's a technique that we use when we want to get some space between ourselves, our experienced selves, and our thoughts. And that's something you can do anytime. The easiest way to achieve cognitive diffusion is just to say to yourself, I notice myself having the thought. For instance, if you're someone that struggles with social anxiety, you might have the thought that nobody likes me. But rather than say to yourself in your head, nobody likes me, try saying, I notice myself having the thought that nobody likes me. And just see if that feels any different. Again, our goal here isn't really to do much thinking, but if you do notice those thoughts kind of coming up into your awareness, see if you can just notice yourself having the thought and bring your attention back to the pattern, the counting, the texture of the yarn, and the rate of your breath. apparently my wrist is just going to crack on us continuously as we do this. And I'm more aware of that than I ever have been before. It doesn't hurt, it's just a strange phenomenon, I guess. Okay, so we're coming to the end of this round. I'm gonna do one more double crochet here, and then I'm going to join this yellow yarn to the top of the chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, insert my hook, drop a loop, pull it through the last loop to slip stitch to close. Okay, let's take a step back from our work and see how it's coming. I noticed that we sort of missed a spot here with our spike single crochet, so I'm just gonna go back and fix it, and that's easy enough to do. In crochet, when we pull out the yarn that we previously crocheted, we call that frogging. It's a play on words, so you're actually ripping out the stitch, and that sounds like the sound that a frog makes, ribbit. Right, so we're ribbiting. So I'm just going to pull out my hook and slowly, again, slowly and mindfully, I'm going to pull out the slip stitch, and then I'm going to pull out the last double crochet that we did, and again you can see that's where we left the next to the last double crochet. So I inserted my hook there into the top of that, give myself a little room. I'm actually going to go around both of these because they sort of work together. Draw that loop up, yarn over, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the initial chain. There we go. That doesn't look too bad. And yours might not look exactly like mine, and yours might look better than mine, and that's all right, because all we're trying to do here is get out of our head and into our body. Okay, so we are almost done. We're going to do 2 more rounds, and then we'll be done. So, I wonder, do we want to do another color? No, this is fine. Okay, so really all I'm going to do is a double crochet, about 6 chains, and another double crochet. We're just setting up the foundation for the last design. So chain 3 and then chain 6. Yarn over, insert your hook into the top of the spike single crochet there, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, pull through the second 2. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way around. Oops. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the tape while I do that, because the bigger the rounds get, the longer it takes. And then I will come back to you when I've made it all the way around. Okay, so we are on our last round, and you may want to take this time to pull out your notepad and write down a couple of little notes about this last section. I think once you've done it a time or 2, you won't need your notes, but just to make it easier for you, let me show you what we're doing. In each of the spaces that we created in the previous round, we're going to do a single crochet and then a chain, and then we're going to do 3 double crochets, and then we're going to do what's called a picot, which is really just 3 chains, but I'll show you how to do that. And then you're going to do 3 more double crochets, a chain, and a single crochet. And when you do all of those in a space like this one, it makes this nice kind of pointy hump, right? So again, this is our last round. And just before we get going, I want you to take a second, again, ground your body. So maybe take a second and kind of firmly connect with your product and ask yourself if you can describe it in 4 or 5 different words. So I might describe it as soft, fibrous, warm. I might describe these fibers as smooth and these as a little bit rougher because again they're different types of yarn. I might see if I can precisely describe the colors. So I might call this cerulean and this violet. I might call this fuchsia, and I might call this, I don't know, sunshine, right? I'm trying to really connect with the visual and the tactile experience of the yarn. Again, rate your stress level, scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. And again, I'm not talking about your global stress level, but in this 5 minutes. Give your jaw a wiggle, forward, backward, side to side. See if you can loosen up any tension that you're holding there. Raise your eyebrows really high like you're trying to touch them to your hairline. Hold that a second. And then all at once release and let your forehead go smooth. Again, releasing some of the tension there. Okay, now that you've checked in with yourself and you've taken a second to kind of relax, let's make a few of these designs. So again, we're going to take our hook, we're going to go in under, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through, that's a single crochet. Now we're going to chain on, so again, just yarn over and pull through, that's a chain. And now we're going to do 3 double crochets. So yarn over, put your hook under the space and yarn over to pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through the first 2. Yarn over, pull through the second 2. Pull through the second 2. So there's 1 double crochet and 2 double crochets. And 3 double crochets. Now the next one is a picot, and that is the only stitch I haven't shown you. It sounds fancier than it is, so hang in there with me. We're going to chain 3, so 1, 2, and 3. And now what we're going to do is insert our hook into the first of the chains, draw up a loop, and pull that loop through the last of the chain. And right now that's just going to look like a weird little nub on your hook. And just leave that there and continue with the next 3 double crochets. So yarn over, again 2 loops to start, pull up a loop. Once you have 3 loops, yarn over, draw through the first 2, yarn over, draw through the second 2. Do that 2 more times. Okay, then 1 chain and 1 single crochet. So pull up a loop, 2 on your hook, yarn over and pull through. And there you have it. That's how you make this design. So 1 single crochet, a chain, 3 double crochets, a picot. Remember, a picot is 3 chains with a slip stitch, 3 more double crochets, a chain, and a single crochet. So this round is probably going to take you a little bit. And again, it's the most advanced kind of combination that we've done in this whole project. And that makes sense, right? We started off small with some basic chains. We introduced a single crochet, we introduced a double crochet. We started combining those things. We did this fancy stitch here. And now we're ending with a group of stitches that makes sort of a fancy pattern. So let's do that a few more times just to make sure you kind of can see what you're doing. Insert our hook, draw up a loop. When there are 2 loops on the hook, you yarn over and pull through. That's a single crochet. To do a chain, you just yarn over and pull through. To do a double crochet, you start with a yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. That's 1 double crochet. Do that again, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Yarn over, insert your hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. The nice thing about doing stitches along these chains like we're doing is that you can kind of move them. You can squeeze them up real tight there, or you can kind of spread them out. They'll kind of move around on you. You can put them where you want them. Okay, so now it's time to do that picot. So again, you just yarn over and chain 3 to start. And then you'll insert your hook into the first chain, draw up a loop, and pull that loop through the last chain. Okay, so we're doing some more double crochets, yarn over, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Again, start with a yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Again, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2, and then we're going to chain, and we're going to do a single crochet. So insert our hook there, pull up a loop, have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, and pull through. So that's how you make that shape. I'm going to pause the video and I'll join you when we make it to the end of this round. Don't forget to breathe deep. Okay, so we have come to the end of our last round. I've got 1 loop left on my hook and I just need to join that. So I'm going to insert my hook here in our first single crochet from the beginning of the round, pull up a loop, pull it through for a slip stitch. Just for good measure, I'm going to yarn over and pull that through one more time. Pull that up, snip it, pull our yarn out. Now we are almost done. To finish up any crochet project is the worst part. You have to flip over your work and take all of these little loose ends and weave them in. It shouldn't come apart. That's not the issue. It's just for to make it neat. So for instance, back over here on this last one, if you have a yarn needle, that makes things so much easier. Show you. You would thread your yarn needle is just a big, not sharp needle. Thread your yarn. You can just put that through a couple of stitches. Pull. You want to do that just a couple of times, just so you feel comfortable, like it's not coming out of there. Once you've done that, you just trim it up. And so actually I'm going to go through and I'm going to do that for each of these tails. But before we do that, I want you to take a second and once again check in with your body. Do a quick body scan, starting with your feet and your calves, your knees, your thighs, hips, stomach, chest, shoulders, biceps, forearms, and hands. Mentally move through those groups of muscles and give it a squeeze and release. Kind of wiggle it and let out any tension that you may be holding. And as you reflect back over your project, ask yourself what the experience was like. Did you notice an increase in focus? Did you notice an increase in direction? Were your thoughts scattered? Were they more creative, more stimulated? Sometimes people will report a sense of empowerment that comes from learning a new project. As you sit there and you look back on what you've made, just kind of notice how you feel. Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed are you in this moment? Jot that down. And as you look back over your notes from the beginning of the project through the middle and now to the end, has that stress level changed? Has it gone up and then down? Or has it gradually gone down or gradually gone up even? And just kind of note what emotions are associated with that. I hope that this has been an hour or so for you to just be with your body and to get out of your mind. I hope that you've learned some skills for observing your thoughts and for creating some space from your thoughts. And I also hope that you've learned some skills to make a nice, pretty crochet mandala here. You can do lots of things with your mandala. If you want, you can get like an embroidery hoop. This one is almost, it's actually a little bit too small for this particular project, but you could get something like an embroidery hoop if you had one, you know, and kind of attach that, and it would be almost like a dream catcher. You can also stitch this to the front of a pillowcase. You can stitch several of them together and make your own pillowcase, or if you went really crazy, I suppose you could even make a blanket. So I'm probably just going to hang this one on the wall for a little burst of sunshine. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you'll come back for our next mindfulness and crochet video.